All right, welcome to Asian Book Club, where we welcome Asian and Asian American authors. We are your hosts,
Jamae and Sabangan.
and I'm Stephen Park. And today we welcome Dr. Elizabeth Nguyen, who is a Vietnamese American writer and psychiatrist. She was born and raised in Honolulu, Hawaii. Her parents were refugees from Vietnam who arrived in Honolulu in 1975 at the end of the Vietnam War. She received her BA from Stanford University in human biology and her MD from Northwestern University. She has her psychiatry residency and child psychiatry fellowship training at UC Davis. She started her career in community mental health with specific interests in cross-cultural psychiatry, the intersection of spirituality and mental health, and the healing power of water and the natural world. She is currently in private practice in Davis, California, and can be found online at multidimensionalpsychiatry.com. Welcome, Dr. Elizabeth Nguyen.
Thank you so much, Jamae and Stephen, for having us, for having me.
Definitely, we're glad to have you. And so, getting into the interview questions, and
Well, let's talk about what we read first.
oh, for sure.
So the book that we read is Aloha Vietnam, and it was written by you, and we had a fantastic time reading through it. Getting into the questions, we definitely were curious about who you were as a person. So who are you outside of writing?
Well, outside of writing, like you already went over, I'm a psychiatrist, but outside of my professional life, I'm a mother, I'm a daughter, I'm a sister, I'm a partner, I'm a friend, I'm a surfer, I'm a yogi, I'm a lover of nature, and I'm a soul. I really live my life led by my soul.
That's awesome. So was the character kind of, because she had a background that enjoyed surfing and being in the water, was that a little bit of yourself being portrayed into the character?
That was definitely that part of Aang's character definitely was something that comes from me personally.
That's awesome. What was your inspiration behind Aloha Vietnam? And were there any interesting moments that came up while writing this book?
Well, I knew that I always wanted to write a book. So when I sat down to write my first book, I just thought, what is a story I want to tell? And what is the story that I'm most capable of telling? So I just started writing my own story about my own childhood, growing up in a Vietnamese American refugee family in Hawaii. And then I knew I wanted to share my personal and professional experiences as a psychiatrist and someone who works in the mental health field to share a story that would both decrease stigma around mental illness and also provide hope and inspiration for others. But as I began writing, I wanted to express my creativity more. So I decided to turn the book into a novel so I didn't have to stick with the facts and just give myself creative freedom to take the story where I wanted it to go, where it wanted to go. So when people ask me, is this story like, autobiographical or fiction? I'd say it's about 50-50. It's like 50% coming from my own experiences and then 50% just creative fiction.
Yeah, and I could definitely tell that from just the way that the story was told. It felt so real as you read through it. It didn't feel like the story of An's character was made up. It felt like there was actual truth behind it. And I'm assuming with all the directions that you took, it must have pulled from different areas. And I'm assuming it took a while. So, like, how long did the book actually take to complete?
It actually didn't take that long. It took me like a year to write the initial rough draft of the manuscript. But then I set it aside and it just sat in my writing drawer for years and I didn't finish it. I didn't, do anything with it. And it wasn't until my father passed away a couple years ago that I had this wave of energy that pushed me to finish the book. And in retrospect, I think there was an unconscious part of me that wasn't sure if my father would have approved of me publishing the book while he was still alive, just because of, Asian parents are very private and, talking
Yes.
about mental illness. I mean, I never talked to him about the book, but I think a part of me, my soul was just like, maybe it would be easier if I just waited. So, um,
Absolutely. Was it something that you think if you could go back, you would have talked to your father a little bit more about in terms of like just this book and where you were able to send it?
I'm sure I would have always wanted to talk to my father more about not only this book, but a variety of other things.
Right.
I'm not sure. I'm sure if I had published it while he was still alive, we would have had some conversations about it. And I think in general, the book is meant to open conversations for people with, within their family, within their social circles, and with providers. And so I guess I should take my own medicine and be like, yes, it would have opened up a conversation. But even though part of me is like, I don't know if it would have. Yes, it would have, I think.
I think it's easier said than done to open up those
Mhm.
conversations.
Yeah.
For sure. Speaking about parents and their children, diving into the book, Schwan and An's mother-daughter relationship appeared to be tumultuous throughout the story. How would you characterize their relationship?
Yeah, so the book is written from alternating points of view, from the point of view of Aang, the teenager, and her mother, Swan. And, even if you would characterize their relationship as tumultuous from the surface or from the outside, I just view their relationship as complex, which all parent-child relationships are. And whatever it looks like from the surface or outside, I wanted to convey a deep bond of love and care between mother and daughter that was always there, even if it got sometimes lost or confused because of the intergenerational and cross-cultural challenges that come with immigration and understanding of mental health. So this was actually a really major focus and theme of the book is how can parents and children communicate and understand each other better when there's cross-cultural and intergenerational differences, and especially when there's the added complexity of mental illness.
Mhm.
Right. I think so I'm currently 36 and I'm in this weird phase of I see my friends now having children and I see the perspective of parenthood from the parent side from my friends and I see the perspective of me as a child seeing my parents and I think I'm hopefully starting to understand that relationship between parents and children a little bit more and I see Jamae's relationship with her mother and I see my friend who's a mother to a daughter and I can definitely see how the deep roots of that foundation is that love, even though there's so many difference in the generational gaps that we're now forming between the boomers. Is your mom a boomer?
Boomer.
Okay, let's not say boomer.
My mom's a Gen X.
A Gen X, and then all the way down to whatever the next generation, alpha, beta, or whatever it's going to be. So,
For
yeah, I
sure.
thought that was a very strong bond that you were able to fit into it, even though they were both going through so many different struggles.
Yeah, it's I'm a child psychiatrist, so I really was drawn to helping parents and children get through challenging developmental issues in the child or interpersonal issues between parent and child. It was always something that really interested me, and it felt like my calling to help patients with. And so that was one of the things that I hoped the book would just help assist with, because I think so many times it's like the best intentions are there. Every parent, unless they're completely antisocial and narcissistic, does want to support their child and love them the best as they can. But there's so many challenges that get in the way from the way they were raised, their beliefs, their trauma. And then, children, I think that's their longing to want to feel like their parents really love them and support them and understand them. And so most of the times it's there, but there's like this disconnect. I think if we can help bridge and translate, interpret, it can really be healing for multiple generations.
Absolutely. And we also see that An is able to get some help from not just her parents or her mother, but Lauren and Shelley seem to represent forms of help for her in times of need. And Lauren seemed to approach An with these conversations that didn't carry judgment, while Shelley gave her a place of belonging and feeling like she wasn't alone in the whole process. So would you say these characters modeled some ways that you can create safer spaces for people who are in need at those times?
Yeah, absolutely. And just for readers or listeners who aren't familiar, Lauren and Shelley were like peers of Aang in the book after she goes through her bipolar episode and returns to school and gets hospitalized. And I think, anyone going through a mental health challenge needs a lot of support from all people in their life, not just their family members, but from their peers and then from mental health professionals and even just society at large, like school systems, workplace environments, to decrease the stigma around mental illness. And I think these characters were added just to show how challenging it can be to talk about mental health and mental illness, because there's so much shame around it. It's not like something you feel always comfortable talking to your friends about. But conversations like the ones we're having now are just one way to increase the comfort level that people have talking about mental health challenges, because everyone either has experienced it or knows someone who's experienced it. It's just so common.
Absolutely.
For sure. And it seems like more often people are being more brave to start speaking about their mental health illnesses or their mental health journey overall. With An's bipolar disorder, it was a very prominent aspect in the book. What were you hoping your readers would take away from her journey?
So I have family members who have bipolar disorder. So this is an illness that holds a lot of personal significance to me. And I work with a lot of patients who have bipolar disorder. So I know the amount of work and energy it takes to manage a life with bipolar disorder. So I wanted to give readers who either may not have as much knowledge or experience with mental illness or bipolar disorder specifically a window into what it's really like to live with this. And I wanted to give readers a sense of understanding and compassion for themselves, whether they themselves suffer from mental illness or know someone who does, just to educate them on the resources that are out there, that there's help available, and just to help them realize that, lots of other people are going through these struggles as well. I think people with mental illness can sometimes feel very alone or not sure if other people also feel this way. So writing this book was meant to, even if you don't have bipolar or know anyone with bipolar, I've had so many readers just tell me like, wow, it really gave me an increased empathy for what it might be like to have a mental illness and to be both the person or the parent or even like a treatment provider, all those different perspectives.
Yeah, I think that resonates strongly because both me and Jamae have talked about our neurodivergence and those feelings of just, for me especially, like feeling like out of control at certain points because of it. And so reading through Ein's story of everything that was going on, I was like, oh my gosh, these are words that I wish I could express better during the times that I'm feeling it. But it was really nice to be able to kind of see that on paper and not when I'm feeling it, so that I can actually like read through the words and feel, I don't know, it's not justification, but it's a sense of also being seen, I guess. So it was really great.
Yeah, I think you're talking about like the a sense of feeling validated or
Yeah,
validation or being seen, which is, so important for, that's how therapy works. It's to have you be able to express your experiences and articulate them so you can understand them better, but also so that someone else can validate for you that these feelings and experiences you're having are valid. And it's for all of us, we really do want to be seen and understood and supported for who we truly are. And so I felt like there weren't that many portrayals of not just Asian American. Now there's so many, which is great. Like your podcast is one amplifier of that, but not as many portrayals of mental illness in a way that also felt compassionate and inspiring and beautiful. I think a lot of the portrayals of mental illness are very like, for lack of a better word, just like not very positive. Where if someone sees that, they're like, I don't necessarily want to identify with that. But I wanted
right.
I wanted readers to really rally behind the protagonist who has a mental illness in this book and see her journey as not just challenging, but also beautiful, and see her healing process as a beautiful process.
Absolutely. You clearly do a lot of great work in this. I think the perspective that you provide is very different. And I am very glad that you made this a fictional book because we do see more self-help books coming out within AAPI kind of culture. And it's really necessary, but I'm really glad we got to see the story rather than just kind of always looking in introspectively. But with that said, is there anything else you're working on? Is there something you'd like to promote? Or where can people find your work besides the multidimensional psychiatry.com?
Yeah, thank you. So Aloha Vietnam was my first book, and I definitely want to keep writing, although, just time is a limitation. But I recently also published another book as part of a book collaboration with the other authors. It was called Sensual Soul Shine, and it was a book written by women around the world talking about our stories of reclaiming our sensuality and sexuality in our lives. So you can find that book too. And then I'm really excited about this Oracle card deck that I'm releasing. It's called The Wisdom of Water, and I collaborated with an artist who photographs reflections of sunlight off of water, and they have all these energy healing codes in the artwork, and we paired them with channeled messages from water. This, comes from the years of work we've done around studying water as a healing modality, which is something that I'm super passionate about. So The Wisdom of Water Oracle card deck is coming out soon. And people can find me at multidimensionalpsychiatry.com or also my water work at waterkeeperscommunity.com. And those Instagram handles are the same.
Awesome.
Yeah.
We are absolutely looking forward to reading that book. I think probably Jamae might have more to relate to it than I will, but we have been looking for an Oracle card, like Jamae's been looking for one. So that will
Ooh.
definitely be purchased in the very near future.
For sure. Is it out now?
Oh, awesome. It's not out yet. It's the designers working on the final design of the box, but I will let you know.
Please.
Yeah,
Yes, that's
that'd
so
be awesome.
exciting. And to close out our interview, we ask all of our authors a very fun question just to see what y'all have. And that question is, what is your favorite ice cream flavor?
So I'm notorious for being the annoying sampler when I order ice cream. I don't have one favorite flavor. It just sort of rotates based on what I feel like eating. But my rotating favorites are pumpkin, butter pecan, Jamocha almond fudge, and matcha and ube. So I like the seasonal stuff.
That's awesome.
You and Jamae would have a blast. Her favorite ice cream
My
flavor.
is also mocha almond fudge.
Awesome. Well, we really appreciate your time. We really appreciate you sharing your story and the work you're doing for the community. And I'm glad that you're able to help so many people because it's absolutely a topic that I know very specifically the AAPI community has difficulty talking about and it's blossoming. And I'm glad you're a big part of it. So we'd like to thank you again for joining us. And we really are just so grateful for your work.
Yes, thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for doing what you do as well.
Absolutely. And if y'all, as the listeners, would like to talk to us more, if you have any questions for us, how can people reach out to us?
Y'all can email us at asianbookclubpod@gmail.com or join the conversation on Instagram at asianbookclubpod.
We also have our website, which is asianbookclubpod.com, that has our bookshop with books that we've read in the past, books that we recommend, and books that we plan to read in the future.
And a great way to support us is to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast.
Otherwise, make sure to be happy, be healthy, and read a book.
Ingat.
Bye.
Bye.